Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours with 10% off using code FD10. Bidding Classics, the online classic car marketplace with more cars added every week. And Lancaster Insurance cover the Furious fleet. They are one of the biggest specialist insurers in the UK, covering all areas of vintage to modern classic cars and motorbikes. Follow the links in the description below. Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and it's another day, believe it or not, trying to fix the Crown Victoria, because it turns out bodywork takes a really long time, as if we didn't know that already, and chasing rust is always 10 times worse than you expect it to be. If you've not seen the previous videos, although I imagine you probably have, this started off with the MOT man finding a little hole just big enough to put a finger through. I took it back, found a hole big enough to put, well, a pair of shoes through, and then discovered that the entire sill on this passenger side, on both skins of the metal, which I now know is double skinned. Last time I showed you I bought some outer skins. This time I'm going to have to make some inner skins, and this time I'm getting a little bit more serious and a little bit more practical with my metalworking. Because previously, whenever I've been doing any kind of creating bits of metal to weld into the floor of a car, I've just gone and got a hammer and a vise and blocks of wood and bashed them about. This time though, because I've got to do, well, it's got to be a good 2.5 meters of steel in a nice even crisp line, this time we've moved and got something a bit more serious. We've acquired a Clark strong arm 24-inch metal folder from Machine Mart, so this will make things an awful lot easier, because instead of having a slightly wiggly bits of 2x4 and a hammer and a vise trying to make everything fit together, it's now going to be a nice straight even section, although admittedly I can only do 24 inches at a time, which is about 60 centimeters. That's fine. I can work with that. That does mean we've got nice even crisp things. This is quite a heavy thing. It's about 13.5 kilos, this, and you can't use it on the floor. What you're meant to do is mount it on a vise. However, my vise is on the workbench at the far end of the garage, and in between me and that is a W123 which only barely works, and in between me and the W3 coming out of the garage is a Crown Victoria which is going nowhere, so I've had to go and get a workmate as well. Now, as I say, metalworking and bodyworking takes literally forever. If you've been watching any of Sarah Entune's recent Toyota Resto mod videos, then she had mentioned in one of the last ones about how I think she spent about 4 days on a particular bit of the thing and videoed none of it because it's all just the same thing on and on and on. I actually started doing this yesterday, and I spent a good afternoon or so just grinding back this layer here, because this bottom section here is, well, first of all, it's one thick bit of metal which comes vertically down, which is the pressing of the main body, and spot welded onto that, we first of all got the flange of this inside section of the inner sill, and then we've got the outer section of the sill, so it's 3 layers of metal, and where they've been spot welded together, they're kind of bonded and unified, squeezed in together, and what you can just do is just grind it flat and be done with it. However, where it's a sandwich of bits of metal, there was rust in between the layers, so I had to get there with my grinding disc and grind and grind and grind to not just spot welds were gone, but also the layers of metal underneath were gone as well. So that was fun. It took, yeah, several hours of just lying on the floor with a mask on, earphones on, glasses on, getting covered in grit and dust, until we got a flat enough area to actually start working on for the next bit, because this will be spot welded back on again. The same people who do Bulldog BDX do this stuff, MDS rust neutralizing primer. You paint it straight onto the metal, straight over rust, and it neutralizes the rust and undercoats and primes at the same time. So up inside here, everywhere I've been taking it back to the metal is now rust proofed, rust killed, rust treated and painted all in one. Now admittedly they do actually say it's better to leave some rust for it to key to, because it works better that way, because it's people have commented in previous videos, oh, that's going to be rusting through in 2 days time. It's not just basically undercoat, it's not even just red oxide, it's a thing that was developed to use on oil rigs working out at sea and that kind of thing, so it's really heavy duty industrial stuff. What I will have to do, anywhere I'm going to be spot welding on here, well I say spot welding, plug welding is a more technical term, I'm going to have to grind back so I've got an area of bare metal to plug weld to. However, I will leave the neutralizing primer in between, so we've not got a sandwich of rust again. Now what I've got to do here is make sure I've got a nice flat edge on this inner section just here, so I can make a nice easy box section, so we can have like an L shape. So sort of a light flange going up, a panel going across, and a bigger flange coming down. This is going to take hours, literally hours. Right, so first thing I've got to do is get back under the car again with the grinder some more, and where this inner edge is, it's going down, where I've cut it off, it's on like a corner of a channel, so I've got some of it with a bit of a lip on it, and it needs to be a vertical flat bit of metal, so I've got a nice easy thing to weld to. Got my cordless D20 grinder, which is handy, and a few people in the last few videos have said, oh, you're clearly using the wrong discs, you don't know what you're talking about, what kind of muppet are you? Or kind words to that effect. Now I do know these actually are metal cutting discs, not metal grinding discs, because they're inscribed with strange runes which only few can understand, which I believe read metal cutting disc. Yeah, they're definitely cutting discs. Right, let's get grinding. Right, okay, so I've now got a straight edge with a vertical line for this thing to weld onto. Now, hilariously, this is the entire sheet of metal I originally bought in order to do this whole repair, because I thought, how big can it be? Turns out quite big. Right, so what I'm going to do is measure up the up angle, the straight out angle, and the up again angle, and tack weld this in, well, on the inside of that edge, because I need to be far enough in that the outer sill isn't affected by its position. I'm also thinking I might do this up a tiny bit, because previously the problem has occurred that the two inner and outer sill panels were butted up together with each other and the rust formed in between them. So if I leave like a millimetre or so in between, I can flood that with wax and it won't rust again. I'm thinking that might be the better thing to do. Right, got my steel rule, right, and putting this against the inner edge, this is 80mm. Let's try a couple of the measure points just to make sure it's flat. Okay, 70mm, that's not good. Yeah, that is 70mm. Okay, so it's actually moved quite a lot. That is 75. That's not even all the way down the length of the bloody car. This is going to be entertaining then. Oh, hello, dog. Pardon? I don't see one. It's not under the Crown Vic.
Go under the...
Can't see one under the Rover.
It's in your garage now.
Oh, Michael, can you find one? Oh, good. Right, got my steel rule, right, and putting this against the inner edge, this is 80mm. Let's try a couple of the measure points just to make sure it's flat. Okay, 70mm, that's not good. Yeah, that is 70mm. Okay, so it's actually moved quite a lot. That is 75. That's not even all the way down the length of the bloody car. This is going to be entertaining, though. Okay, so this actually waves in and out a remarkably large amount. It's not flat at all, it's all over the blooming place. So a lot of it is 70mm wide and a lot of it is 80mm wide, and that obviously means that some of it's in between. This bit is quite easy to deal with. I can make that 35mm high, and this outer bit about 2 centimeters, because I need it to lap underneath there, so I've got a nice easy edge for it to weld onto. How am I going to do this? This is going to take some thinking. I don't like having to think. That's why I do YouTube. You do stuff without thinking then. Oh man alive. Yeah, good. Okay. Okie dokie, so what I've decided to do, what I've done is marked up this bit here will be the bottom flange, the vertical bit that sits plug welded onto this back panel here. Then we've got this bit here, which I've decided to go for 8 centimeters because I can make stuff smaller, I can't make it bigger. So when we get to the 7 centimeter bits, we just have to bash it in somehow. And finally, we've got this top lip, which is the vertical 1.5 centimeters or so, which will tuck in behind here and get welded on flat. That's the plan. So let's grind this out and start folding. So I can't believe how posh and upmarket this builder's got. Not only have I got a metal bender, I've got a thing to cut metal not on the ground. And where you can get 1mm cutting discs, I've never seen one in real life though. I have to order some. at some point to keep everyone happy. Now, I've not used this before, so I'm going to do a quick test run with a bit of scrap metal. So what you do, feed a bit of metal through there, tighten it up like so, and then fold it, and you got yourself a 90-degree bend. Like that. Well, that's a bit messy because I've messed around with that a few times. So let's try this again with the good bit. I've had to cut the end off this because it's a bit too wide, this sheet of metal. Pop this in here. Yeah, let's get that lined up on the marks. Okay, that's now tight. So the question is, how far do I turn this to get it to 90 degrees? And obviously the answer is 90 degrees, but how do I tell is the question. So am I 90 degrees there? Not quite. Almost. Yeah, that's 90. But so that is about 1,000 times faster and 1,000,000% neater than anything I was ever going to make using a hammer and a bit of wood and a vise. There we go. Right, the next bit though has got to go back the other way again, so it's actual thinking again here. Okay, right, so I've got my little lines on the back here now. So I'll line these up in the bender. And once again, tighten it all up. If I could get the Mercedes moved, it might be easier to actually bring the vise out here, put it on the bench itself and do it that way, but I haven't got that, so I won't. Let's make sure we're tightened in here. There we go. Oh. 90 degrees yet, not quite, almost. Oh. Do you reckon I've done it? Wow, that is so much easier. Wow, so that will then go onto the car like that. Job done. Let's have them make this fit. Right, let's see if this does actually do what it's meant to be doing. No, well, yes and no. Yes it does. But I'm going to have to do a bit of hammering. Yeah, that's good actually. In some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad. Okay, so this is almost perfect. What I've got is a nice flat edge here, which I can plug weld really easy. I can drill some big holes through here, grind off the paint behind it, plug weld it on there, job done. It's this front edge up here, which is the problem because it's not really completely straight. By not really, I mean very not. Right, so what I found is that this actually fits better at the back than it does at the front, bizarrely, but I do need to make a few minor alterations here and there just to tweak it into shape. And the workmate thing is proving very handy indeed, just for holding us in place for additional tweaking. Right, so after more twisting than Quentin Tarantino at a Chubby Checker marathon, we finally managed to get this first section to fit into this shape. Unfortunately, it's now late enough in the evening, having been doing this for a couple of hours actually, that I can't really sit with a grinder and grind this all back to nice metal if I want to not get reported to the police by my neighbours. So we'll get back on this in the morning. Okay, time has passed. It's now a couple of days later because of work and school holidays and stuff, but yeah, this has been significantly more troublesome than I ever imagined it would. This is the result of lots of hours of messing around with mole grips and putting on and off here an awful lot. I can't remember if I said this the other day or not when I was out here filming on the drive in the murkier weather, but whereas I thought this was just a simple inner box section, just a nice L shape, it turns out the bottom is nice and flat, but the outside edge goes in and out an awful lot. So it means making this shape fit has been an absolute pain in the you-know-what. Had I known this, I'd have tried harder to cut this up on the horizontal surface, but there wasn't really an option because getting back to good metal meant going back past the turn up into the curve of the vertical. So I was kind of forced into it. I'm hoping on the other side I've not got the same issue. And also, yeah, it would have been better to do an entire single length of this because this is 24 inches, which is about 60 centimetres. 1, 2, 3, so I'm going to have to use 3 of these lengths, which is less good than doing one single length. However, trying to mangle a single 1.2 metre length of metal with all these undulations, which is going to be, yeah, mind-blowingly difficult. So at least now I've got a point where I can start doing stuff. And what I'm going to do now is drill a couple of holes in this along this lower flange, so then we can plug weld it onto there, and then when we get to the the outer box section, I'll use a spot weld drill to drill through this one to the main section, so we've finally got an all the way through plug weld. This is a lot of work. I did coat this with a zinc paint before I put it away the other night. Now the thing is, this bit is going to be completely concealed, so no one's ever going to see it again after I've done this. Right, don't need to be spot welding any bits of pine into the car. I'm sure it'll add loads of strength if I do though. Okay, so I think that's how we want it. I'm just going to quickly run the knotted wire wheel over this bit so we've got a good metal to weld to, or clean metal I should say, because this is all undercoated with rust proofing paint. Right, so now all that's left to do is to start setting fire to stuff. Break out the sparkly spanner. Get ready for lots of joy. I've never done plug welding before either, so this is going to be interesting. See if I do this well or make massive holes. Wish me luck. Well, that's surprisingly neat and easy. I've never done this before, didn't know how that was going to go. Well, that's a revelation. Well, that went better than I thought it would. Right, let's do the nasty bit up top. Now, plug welding is now my favourite kind of welding, it seems. Ow. 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 I was about to say this has gone really well and I've got a nice tidy bit of new metal in the car, but my plug welds have just broken with the heat of the metal stretching and shrinking with the heat, and so now I need to figure out how to do that all over again. Let's try this again. This time we'll drill through the actual car as well. I did say I've never done plug welding before, so it's all a learning curve. Okay. Ah, dear me. Right, so hopefully, I need one more in the end. This will be less springy now. Although, what you've got to remember is that when the outer sill goes on, I'm going to have to drill through the outer sill and this to the basic car, so it's going to be doubly done all over again. So this hasn't got to be the ultimate strength. This is just going to be a seeing us through kind of a deal. Yeah, we are. First metal is now on the car. The top edge, which looks ropey, is nice and strong. This lower edge, which looks quite neat, isn't as strong, but when I put the outer sill on top of that and drill through both sides, then that will become an awful lot stronger. It was a sandwich from the factory, spot welded all together before the car was joined onto the frame. So yeah, no one's ever going to see it anyway. Right, so as this week draws to a close, we have now got a bit of new metal in the car. This is proving to be such a bigger job than I was anticipating, even when I knew it was a big job. Also, I've just managed to weld the end of my welder shut, so that's going to be fun to try and release all that and make it free again. Super fun. Yeah, that's an additional task. So yeah, it's going well. And by going well, I mean it's going terribly. So yeah, this is my least favourite activity just ever, really. Just welding is just the worst. I'm really actually thinking maybe I should go and pay someone to do this, because this is just no fun. But I do want to get it done, and I've got no money and no budget for a welder, so I'm gonna have to do it myself, really, aren't I? So yes, yeah, we'll keep going in the meantime, and hopefully the car won't get any worse while I'm sat here on the drive. You know it will do. Something else is going to fall off while I'm waiting. Right, okay, join me again next time when hopefully we'll be able to put a bit more metal in this car, and yeah, maybe have a complete sill on it next time. I was hoping this video was going to be boof, inner sill, boof, outer sill, done. And having that new machine mark bender thing has made a huge difference to how quickly I can fabricate these panels. But yeah, the fact this is not a straight edge on top has slowed me down significantly. Yeah, so it's all good fun. Well, it's something anyway. Right, thank you for watching. You know the drill, like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see you again next time. Either doing some more of this, which will be happening, or something on one of the other cars. Otherwise it's just non-stop weldathon on this thing, which is going to get boring pretty quickly. Thanks for watching.